Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. It's time to take a look at the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1940s for May 2024. There were some really nice cards that sold in May, one of which sold for a record high price. So let's go take a look. Coming in at number 10. We have this 1949 Leaf Joe DiMaggio in a PSA 6. This one sold on May 29th for $4,164. It was an auction. There were 26 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 6 is $4,620. The record high sale, though, was $7,660 back in January of this year through eBay. Now, there was one other significant 49 Leaf Joe DiMaggio, this one in a PSA 5 that sold on May 20th for $2,999. Coming in at number 9. We have this 1949 Leaf Stan Musial in a PSA 4. This one sold on May 20th for $4,203. It was an auction. There were 45 bids. Current VCP average price for a PSA 4 is $2,553. So this one sold for quite a premium over the current VCP average price, but this copy is very well centered and has really nice registry. The record high sale for a PSA 4 was $6,097 back in March of 2022 through Mile High. Now, there was one other significant sale of a 49 Leaf Stan Musial in May. This one actually a PSA 6 that sold on May 28th for $3,709. So sometimes the eye appeal trumps the number grade on the card. That PSA 4 was very well centered. This PSA 6 copy is a little bit more off-centered and sold for less than that PSA 4 copy. Coming in at number 8. We have this 1948 Swell Sport Thrills Jackie Robinson in a PSA 4.5. This one sold on May 8th for $5,230. It was an auction. There were 17 bids, and this is the current VCP average price, and it is a new record high sale for a PSA 4.5. The previous high was $2,091 back in May of 2020 through Huggins and Scott auction. Coming in at number 7. We have this 1949 Leaf Babe Ruth in a PSA 4. This one sold on May 23rd for $6,050. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 4 is $5,567, although this particular sale was not included in VCP's database. The record high sale for a PSA 4 was $10,742 back in May of 2023 through Memory Lane. Now, there were 4 other significant 49 Leaf Babe Ruth sales in May. One was a PSA 2 that sold on May 30th for $3,600. There was another PSA 2 that sold on May 17th for $3,450. There was a PSA 1 copy that sold on May 19th for $2,425, and finally another PSA 1 copy sold on May 9th for $2,375. Coming in at number 6. We have this 1941 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio in a PSA 6. This one sold on May 29th for $6,111. It was an auction. There were 37 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 6 is $7,380. So this buyer got a pretty good deal on this auction for the 41 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio. The record high sale for PSA 6, though, was $11,000 back in February of 2023 through eBay. Now, there were two other significant 1941 Play Ball Joe DiMaggios, both PSA 6s as well. One sold on May 29th for $6,100, and another PSA 6 sold on May 1st for $5,600. Coming in at number 5, we have this great looking 1949 Leaf Worn Spawn in a PSA 8. This one sold on May 18th for $7,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 is $7,700, although that is less than the record high sale of $11,100 back in May of 2022 through Heritage Auction. Coming in at number 4, we have this 1949 Bowman Satchel Paige in a PSA 7 off-center. This one sold on May 21st for $7,750. It was a best offer. Now, what's interesting about this is there are no reported PSA 7 qualifier sales in VCP's database. There is only a population of 4 in a PSA 7 qualifier. This is one of them, but there have been no reported sales in VCP's database for any PSA 7 qualifiers. Now, there were 4 other significant Satchel Paige, 1949 Bowman Satchel Paige cards in May. One was a PSA 4 that sold on May 15th for $4,900. There was a PSA 3 that sold on May 5th for $4,000. There was a PSA 2 copy that sold on May 9th for $3,297. And finally, another PSA 2 copy sold on May 19th for $3,291. Coming in at number 3, we have this 1940 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio in a PSA 7. This one sold on May 29th for $8,880. It was an auction. There were 44 bids. And this auction price sold for far less than the current VCP average price for a PSA 7 of $11,241. The record high sale was $15,301 back in January of 2023 through eBay. Now, there were 2 other 1940 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio sales of significance in May. One was a PSA 5 that sold on May 29th for $2,247. And there was a PSA 4 copy that sold on May 5th for $2,163. Coming in at number 2, we have this 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson in a PSA 7. This one sold on May 13th for $14,112. It was an auction. There were 34 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 7 is $17,102. So again, this auction winner got a very good deal on this card. The record high sale for a PSA 7 was $29,090 back in February of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. Now, there was one other significant 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson sale in May. This one, a PSA 4 copy that sold on May 27th for $5,103. And the highest sale card for the month of May is this 1949 Leaf Jackie Robinson in a PSA 4.5. This one sold on May 12th for $17,500. It was an auction. There were 51 bids. The current VCP average price is this sale here of $17,500. The record high sale for a PSA 4.5 was an amazing $55,200 back in April of 2022 through REA. Now, there were 4 other significant 1949 Leaf Jackie Robinson sales in May. One was a PSA 4 that sold on May 21st for $14,200. There was a PSA 4 Mark Card sold on May 4th for $9,700. There was a PSA 1.5 that sold on May 4th for $6,000. And finally, there was another PSA 1 copy that sold on May 23rd for $4,356. Well, there you go, the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1940s for May 2024. As always, would love to know in the comments what you think about the cards that made the top 10 list. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.